She escaped unscathed. I'm not sure how she managed to keep it all together, but A'ja Wilson is a survivor, folks. That's right. This weekend, she came face to face with a Caitlin Clark fan, and she got out of there.
What happens when a league turns its back on an MVP and the internet decides to pick a side? Because just minutes ago, a narrative exploded across social media that shocked even longtime WNBA fans. Headlines started flying, group chats lit up, clips were taken out of context, and suddenly one of the most decorated players in the game, A'ja Wilson, was being talked about like she was being pushed out. Not benched, not criticized, pushed out. The story spreading online was brutal, dropped from key lineups, sidelined from major plans, and allegedly removed from Team USA conversations, all while a new face of the league continues to rise. And in the middle of the storm, one name kept getting dragged in, Caitlin Clark. Now, let's slow this down, because this isn't about what's official. It's about what people are saying, what fans believe, and why this comparison has turned toxic.
Bam, you gotta hit the step back like that. Hey, bam, when you hook in the post, you gotta reach and hook in the post. A'ja Wilson comes face to face, yep, you see it right there, one seat over, with a Caitlin Clark fan in the wild. I know she's scared that things are going to pop off. I know she's scared of Indiana.
A'ja Wilson is an MVP, a champion, a proven superstar. Her resume doesn't need defending, and that's exactly why this moment hits so hard. Because when fans saw her name connected to words like left out, cut, or no longer prioritized, it felt impossible. How does an MVP go from lifting trophies to being questioned overnight? That question fueled anger, and anger always looks for a target. Online narratives began claiming A'ja was being replaced, that her spotlight was shrinking, that the league had moved on. And then came the most explosive claim of all, that Caitlin Clark was the reason. She took my spot. Those words spread like wildfire, not because they were confirmed, but because they fit the drama fans were already primed to believe. But here's where the story takes a turn.
Got you. But no, I mean, it's probably been like a year and a half now of like figuring out what exactly I want. And I think probably the most challenging part of it is like you want it to be unique, but at the same time, like I have to be comfortable wearing it. So I think we kind of like, you kind of take what you know you're comfortable in. Like obviously I play in a lot of Kobe's, but at the same time, I don't want it to be a Kobe. I want it to be something very unique to me and a little bit different. And I think for myself, like, you know, I kind of think about like what's kind of been important to me when I think about like shoes or sneakers. And I think like just the chaseability of them and like, you want a certain sneaker or like you want a certain colorway. So I think that's like going to be probably the most fun part. Like, okay, great. Like you have like the mold of the shoe and like what it is and the technology that's.
Because when you actually place the two situations side by side, the outrage starts to crack. Caitlin Clark entered the league under a microscope. Every foul scrutinized, every mistake magnified, benched, targeted, pressured. Yet through all of it, she didn't blame anyone. She didn't accuse veterans. She didn't attack teammates. She didn't point fingers, she played. And that contrast is what split the fan base wide open on one side. Supporters of A'ja Wilson arguing that legends deserve loyalty, not replacement narratives. That MVPs shouldn't feel disposable. That respect matters more than hyped. On the other side, fans asking a hard question. Why is Caitlin Clark being blamed for simply existing, for drawing viewers, for selling tickets, for lifting ratings?
That's something that I've really seen this year that I've never seen before. It's just like damned if you do, damned if you don't. And you constantly have to live in that life for 4 months, and over time, it's just, quote, ugh. I dreaded being in Indiana. Not because it was like the city or nothing, it was just like, I just don't want no shit to pop off. So you know, as soon as she sat down next to this kid, she thought shit was gonna pop off. She was getting a little nervous, a little worried, seeing an op sit 2 seats from her, but she kept it together. And you know what else she was thinking to herself? I mean, this article comes on the heels of, yeah, that's right.
Because when you actually place the two situations side by side, the outrage starts to crack. Caitlin Clark entered the league under a microscope. Every foul scrutinized, every mistake magnified, benched, targeted, pressured. Yet through all of it, she didn't blame anyone. She didn't accuse veterans. She didn't attack teammates. She didn't point fingers. She played. And that contrast is what split the fan base wide open on one side, supporters of Aya Wilson arguing that legends deserve loyalty, not replacement narratives, that MVPs shouldn't feel disposable, that respect matters more than hyped. On the other side, fans asking a hard question. Why is Caitlin Clark being blamed for simply existing, for drawing viewers, for selling tickets, for lifting ratings?
From Anywhere tagline hilarious showed itself in A'ja Wilson present on January the 5th. Now it goes on to say, nobody can argue with the Las Vegas Ace for A'ja Wilson being the best women's. Yes, we can, but whatever. The world right now, being under 30 years old, and nobody can argue with Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark being the most popular.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's situation stayed unchanged, still absorbing contact, still facing criticism, still carrying expectations no rookie should have to shoulder. Yet she wasn't accusing anyone. She wasn't saying, "This is unfair." She wasn't blaming veterans, and that difference became the heart of the debate. Is it injustice, or is it insecurity? Is the league failing its stars? Or are fans turning competition into conflict? Because here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. The league can elevate new stars without erasing old ones. But when fans turn it into a zero-sum game, everyone loses. Aya Wilson isn't suddenly irrelevant. Caitlin Clark isn't stealing anything. They represent different eras colliding in real time.
You know, in her mind, she's thinking to herself, man, you think he's why is this guy wearing a Caitlin Clark jersey and not my jersey? Why is he wearing a CeCe jersey and not an A'ja Wilson jersey? I mean, of course it's about race. He's probably not even going to think it's about race, but of course it's about race. Subconsciously, he's thinking to himself, it's about race. I only want to wear Caitlin Clark's jersey because it's about race. A'ja Wilson's blood is boiling inside. In fact, if you zoom in and you look closely, you can see steam coming out of her ears.
And collisions create noise. The problem isn't that Caitlin is popular. The problem isn't that Aya is accomplished. The problem is what happens when the internet decides only one can matter. That's how legends get dragged into narratives they never asked for. That's how rising stars get blamed for systems they didn't build. And that's how a league ends up divided against itself. Right now, fans are furious. Comment sections are war zones. Every clip is weaponized, but step back for a second, and the picture changes. This isn't the end of anyone's career. It's the beginning of a reckoning about how success is framed.
And their players better get ready for how that team is going to be treated and talked about, because it's not going to be warm and cuddly and fuzzy in Philadelphia. It is not. If you suck, if you're not performing, they gonna tell you about it. Guaranteed. You're gonna hear about it. In a lot of ways that probably the Indiana Fever and that we're very critical of Stephanie White and players on the team if they don't perform and blah, blah, blah.
About how recognition is shared, about how blame is assigned. Aya Wilson doesn't need a villain. Caitlin Clark doesn't need an enemy. What the league needs is perspective, because when MVPs are treated like headlines instead of humans, and rookies are treated like threats instead of players, the real loser isn't either of them. It's the game itself, and if fans don't slow this down now, the damage won't be about who stayed or who left. It'll be about why nobody wanted to stay at all.